How are you feeling today? Have you ever stepped into a completely ordinary day, yet your heart suddenly feels heavier in a way you cannot name? You talk to someone, they say one random sentence, and it feels as if you accidentally touched a wound that does not even belong to you. Life moves the same, people seem the same, but the atmosphere is different. It is thicker, more fragile, and filled with sharp, cold pockets that make you watch every step, every word. There are moments you ask yourself, am I being too sensitive? Or is the world truly changing? And then, in one of those rare silent moments, you suddenly realize it is not you. It is this society that has become more easily hurt, more easily triggered, and more capable of hurting one another than ever before. As if we are all walking through fields of emotional landmines, never knowing when they might explode. I understand that feeling. The feeling of shrinking yourself every time you try to speak. The feeling of being cautious in conversations, even the smallest ones. The feeling of wanting to be kind, yet fearing that kindness will be mistaken for weakness. The feeling of being tired, in the truest sense of the soul. This does not come from your weakness, nor from losing your ability to endure, but because something is silently happening inside the human heart, a shift so deep that people themselves do not even realize when they began to change. More and more people are carrying storms that have never been healed, wounds that have never been named, fears that have never been faced. And when these things have no place to go, they turn into defensiveness, reactivity, and sometimes toxicity, the very things you feel every day. Society has not suddenly become worse, but it is filling up with tired, unstable, and directionless hearts. And that exhaustion is what makes everything heavier, every word, every glance, every small boundary you try so hard to hold. If you feel this era is making it harder for your heart to breathe, then that feeling is real, because people today are not only physically exhausted, but also emotionally exhausted, a kind of fatigue that sleep cannot fix, food cannot fill, and pretending to be strong cannot erase. And when that silent exhaustion spreads, toxic behaviors find room to grow. But to understand why they appear so often, we need to look deeper into the very first thing that changed inside people, their ability to feel their own emotions. If you pay attention, you will notice something very strange. People today talk more, but feel less. They connect more, but feel lonelier. They keep running, but their hearts remain stuck in a distant place. That is the sign of a quiet truth. The emotions inside us are slowly falling silent. Not because they disappear, but because they are drowned under too many layers of noise from modern life. The pace of life now makes us lose the ability to sit still with ourselves. Even a small pocket of silence is enough to make many people uneasy. They fear their emotions rising, fear facing questions that have no immediate answers, fear touching wounds they have spent years trying to forget. And when they cannot tolerate the discomfort inside, people begin choosing familiar exits, avoidance, denial, blame, and ignoring their true feelings as if they do not exist. There are people who live their entire lives in that state without realizing it. They keep walking, keep smiling, keep working, but their hearts have been switched to silent mode. And when emotions are starved for too long, they do not disappear. They find other ways to surface, through irritability, through sudden frustration, through words that hurt others even when the person speaking does not understand why they said them. When someone can no longer hear the voice of their own heart, they cannot hear the voice of another person's heart either. That is why more and more people treat your hurt as something small. It is not that they do not care. They have simply lost the ability to feel pain, even their own pain. And when empathy shuts down, toxicity begins to form as a survival mechanism, replacing emotional awareness. Sometimes the coldness you encounter is not malice, but the result of a heart that has been frozen for too long. It no longer knows how to soften. And what is even more concerning is this: when emotions are no longer the compass, people turn to things that are faster, things that can fill the empty space immediately, even if only temporarily. And right there, a new spiral begins to form. There is another force quietly distorting how we face life, something that seems harmless and convenient, but weakens the human heart faster than anything else. The world today is designed so everything happens quickly. One tap for entertainment, one swipe to cover sadness. One likes to feel valuable. Every emotion seems like it can be processed in seconds, or at least temporarily hidden. But when everything becomes too easy, the most important things are abandoned. No one teaches us how to sit with slowness. No one teaches us how to build a deep emotion instead of seeking a quick feeling. No one teaches us that the awakening of the inner self requires time, a lot of time. And so, people begin to grow used to thinking, if something doesn't make me happy immediately, I'll drop it. If a relationship doesn't satisfy me right away, something must be wrong with the other person. If life doesn't respond to my wants instantly, I have the right to be angry. When instant gratification becomes the standard, patience, one of the foundations of emotional maturity, begins to disappear. And when patience disappears, entitlement appears. A sense that one deserves immediate fulfillment, even when they have not always put in the effort. For many people, they do not intend to become toxic. They just are no longer familiar with waiting, with trying, or with taking responsibility for what is happening inside their own hearts. They are used to finding emotional shortcuts, bypassing dialogue with silence, avoiding hurt by attacking. Instead of solving problems, they replace people. Instead of building, they walk away. Instead of self-reflecting, they demand the world to change. When someone lives in that structure for too long, they begin to believe that hurting others to protect their own comfort is normal. Psychology calls this the defense mechanism of an undeveloped ego. Life calls it toxic behavior. And the modern world, with all its speed, is unintentionally turning these mechanisms into a cultural habit. There are people who do not realize they are doing something wrong. They only know one thing. They do not want discomfort, even when that discomfort is the truth they need to face. But when people run away from their true emotions, they begin to lose the language needed to understand each other. And that opens the door to an even larger problem. The greatest problem of this era is not that people lack knowledge, but that they lack the language to understand their own emotions. They can speak fluently about politics, opinions, right and wrong, but become clumsy when naming a sadness flowing in their chest. They know how to debate, but not how to listen. They know how to criticize, but not how to acknowledge the fear hiding beneath their anger. Society has taught us how to win arguments, but not how to manage pain. Taught us how to defend our viewpoints, but not how to protect our hearts. And when a person cannot articulate their fear, their pain, or their insecurity in emotional language, they must use easier tools: defensiveness, attack, blame, control. Psychology calls this emotional illiteracy. It is not stupidity. It is simply a lack of nurturing. People grow up in families and environments where emotions are seen as weakness, where sadness must stay silent, where anger is allowed to exist, but vulnerability is not. And then, stepping into adulthood, they carry with them empty spaces they were never taught how to fill. Those empty spaces make them live by reaction, One small sentence can make them spring up as if they need to defend themselves. Every interaction becomes a battle, not because they are bad, but because they do not know another way to exist. Imagine a child inside them, a child who was never taught how to identify sadness, only knowing that when it hurts, it must scream. When it is scared, it must claw. When it is corrected, it must run. Time matures, but emotions do not. And so we end up with a society full of adults with childlike hearts, souls trapped in old survival mechanisms. Not everyone who is toxic is malicious. Many simply have not developed enough to choose better behavior. But when too many underdeveloped hearts collide with each other, the world around us becomes covered in scratches. And in that context, another factor quietly pushes everything further, something you see every day, but seldom recognize the extent of its influence. The sad truth is, while many people are still struggling with emotions that have never been named, society silently builds a stage where immature behavior is rewarded. You can see it everywhere. Just open social media and you will notice the loudest voices are not the calm, kind, or thoughtful ones. They are the ones who speak more harshly, more aggressively, the ones unafraid to attack, mock, or turn someone else's pain into entertainment. Extremes are easy to attract attention. Chaos goes viral faster than kindness. Drama, conflict, one-upmanship. All of them are rewarded by the dopamine-driven systems behind the screen. Every time someone harms others and still gains attention, society is quietly sending a message. Keep doing that, it works for you. And so many people begin shaping their behavior not to become better humans, but to become memorable. They start treating hostility as a strategy, sharpness as strength, and emotional numbness as confidence. In truth, deep down, they are only desperately seeking validation. They do not know how to build from within. Surface-level content, harsh words, self-satisfied attitudes, they slip into daily life as lightly as breath, yet are strong enough to change how people treat one another. And when what is celebrated is no longer compassion, but dominance, superiority, coldness, loudness, the world begins to mistake those things as the new standard. The heartbreaking part is this: those trying to live kindly feel out of place. Those who listen quietly must watch noise take over. Gentle hearts are mistaken for weakness, and many begin doubting their own goodness. But the root of the problem runs deeper, because behind society's encouragement of toxicity lies an even quieter truth, a truth that comes from within the human being, not just from the world around them. A truth about something we have lost inside ourselves. There are moments when you look into someone's eyes, and even though they are smiling, you can still feel a deep emptiness inside them. An emptiness not caused by the lack of love, but by the lack of themselves. Many people today no longer truly know who they are. They know what they like, but not why they like it. They know where it hurts, but not when that pain began. They know they want many things, but do not know which of those things actually belong to their heart and which are merely echoes from society. When a person can no longer stand firm in who they are, they begin seeking stability from things far more fragile: power, control, a sense of superiority, attention. Those things are like neon lights, bright, captivating, but never warm enough to replace the real candle burning inside. And when people cannot feel stability within themselves, they begin looking for targets outside to blame. They use criticism to cover insecurity, use attack to avoid facing the fragments inside, use boldness to mask the smallness they fear confronting. That is why some people always want to pull others down, not because they are truly strong, but because of standing on someone else's pain helps them temporarily forget the abyss opening inside themselves. The behaviors that hurt you are sometimes not malice. They are desperate attempts for that person to feel less weak. But the issue here is no longer about individual people. When too many people simultaneously fall into a state of inner disconnection, something dangerous begins to happen. Society becomes a place where people try to protect their ego instead of nourishing themselves. The further people drift from themselves, the easier they mistake defensiveness for strength. The less they understand themselves, the more they try to control others to feel safe. And little by little, these fragments form a pattern, a generation growing up with an inflated ego and an empty heart. That leads to another consequence, one that makes every conversation in this era frighteningly fragile. The strangest part is, when people feel empty inside, they do not become softer. On the contrary, they become so easily hurt that a glance, a sentence, or a simple boundary can make them spring into defense. The bigger the ego, the thinner the heart. You can meet many such people in life. Those who criticize quickly, but cannot handle even the smallest feedback. Those who attack anyone, but view any response as an insult. Those who demand respect, but do not know how to give it. They are not intentionally making things difficult. They are simply living in a state psychology calls a nervous system on alert, a nervous system strung tight like a wire, always afraid of being hurt again. And when the heart grows thin, any boundary you set can be seen as an attack. They cannot distinguish between honesty and healthy rejection, because in their eyes, anything that makes them uncomfortable means they are being threatened. And so, ordinary interactions become battlegrounds. A piece of feedback becomes an insult. A difference in opinion becomes betrayal. A personal boundary becomes a reason for them to label you with things you do not deserve. A society full of thin-skinned, thick ego makes every conversation fragile like glass. You never know whether to enter with softness or firmness, because either direction might hurt them, and you get pulled into their emotional spiral. You can feel it clearly. People react more than they think, defend more than they listen, feel offended more than they understand. Not because they are bad. They are simply too exhausted to absorb any more emotion. And when a society of fragile hearts tries to hide their trembling inside, toxic behavior becomes easy to grow, like a temporary armor that makes them feel safe. But the scariest part is not the behavior itself, it is how normal it is becoming. Because when too many people respond in the same way, others begin to believe, maybe this is just how humans treat each other in this era. And that normalization opens another door, a door leading to a deeper and far more dangerous problem. There is something few people notice. People today can walk away from a relationship, a friendship, a job, or even an entire old life without ever facing real consequences. In the past, harmful behavior had a cost. The community saw it. Reputation was affected. People had to think before hurting someone because they understood the price might follow them for years. But now, just one block, one new account, one new circle, one new online space, and that is it. No responsibility, no repair, no need to face the fragments they created. When people can leave before they face accountability, toxicity begins to multiply, because anything without consequences will have no limits. Many people gradually become bold with things they once hesitated to do, speaking more cruelly, demanding more, blaming faster, twisting reality as they please, even using psychological terms they only half understand. To justify bad behavior, they criticize you freely. But when you respond, they immediately label you sensitive, dramatic, or difficult. They use the concept of boundaries to do whatever they want, but see your boundaries as an insult. They talk about self-love, but in reality are just protecting a fragile ego while refusing to look at themselves. And because modern society views any emotional discomfort as injustice, toxic people easily use this weakness of the era to manipulate. They only need to appear hurt for others to go silent, even when they were the ones causing the harm in the first place. When consequences disappear, right and wrong begins to blur. Those who cause harm are given sympathy, and those who are hurt are seen as troublesome. And little by little, society becomes a place where anyone can hurt you without having to face anything belonging to them. But beneath all of this lies an even larger reason. A reason why toxicity not only exists, but spreads like an invisible movement. A reason rooted in the nature of this era, where people polish the external shell, while leaving the inside empty of the things that matter most. There is something very quiet, yet transformative. People today care more about how they appear than who they actually become. They want others to see them as strong, even when they are easily broken inside. They want to appear confident, even when that confidence is just a mask built from fear. They want to look superior, because deep down, they fear no one will look their way. Society celebrates image faster than substance. It takes only seconds to create a beautiful version of oneself, even if it has nothing to do with the real person breathing inside their chest. And when performing becomes much easier than growing, people naturally choose the easier path. They do not learn patience with their imperfections. They learn to hide them. They do not nurture strength of character. They nurture their ego. They do not heal their fears. They build a version of themselves that no one can touch. The more perfect the outer shell becomes, the bigger the emptiness inside grows. And when that emptiness becomes too heavy, it must be compensated with something. Control, dominance, intimidation, superiority, coldness. It is not strength, but the way they keep themselves from falling into the hole inside. Psychology calls this ego inflation, when the ego is inflated to cover an undeveloped inner world. And every time the ego swells too much, toxicity fills the spaces that have not been healed. That is why talking to such people feels like they are not defending their viewpoint, but defending their identity. They fear that if they soften even a little, they will fall. Fear that if they admit they are wrong, they will lose the image they worked so hard to build. Fear that if they soften, every crack inside will be exposed. And so they attack, not to defeat you, but to preserve the version of themselves they believe will save them. This turns every conversation into a battle, even when it began with something small. Not because people are worse, but because they are far more fragile than what they project. And within that fragility, a door opens for those who know how to stand firm, look deeper, and hold peace. In all the turbulence of this era, there is something many people do not realize. You are not powerless. In fact, the chaos of society makes those who have awareness, peace, and depth uniquely important. When others react, you choose understanding. When they rush into defense, you pause to feel. When they inflate their ego, you return to your true self. Your emotional stability is not something small. It is something underdeveloped hearts do not know how to create, which is why they are easily swept away by their own storms. You do not need to fix them. You do not need to change them. You do not need to save anyone. You only need to know this truth. Toxic behavior is not your responsibility. Protecting your soul is. When you stay calm, toxic people lose the anchor they cling to. When you stay clear, they cannot distort the story. When you hold your boundaries firmly, they cannot drag you into their storm. They are strong in chaos, but you are strong in clarity, and that is what makes you different. In a world slowly losing itself piece by piece, if there is anything you should carry with you after these minutes, it is the truth that you have the right to keep your soul intact, even when the world around you cannot. Continue building a steady inner world, a heart that knows how to listen, a self strong enough not to harm others, just to feel that you exist. Because in an era where so many chase the ego, your self-awareness is the light you must never lose.